Visit No One Likes Us Clothing for all your Millwall clobber. www.noonelikes.us.co.uk.
You can't beat a good board game at Christmas. So Achtung Millwall has teamed up with Pundit, football's original trivia game. Visit www.punditgames.co.uk and claim your 10% discount at the checkout using the code LIONS.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Let me tell you about one of my internet vices, dear listeners. I'm now at age 62, and you get a certain penchant for internet vices at this age, and mine is to watch these disaster videos that you get, Darwin Awards, video things, things they didn't expect to happen next. And I was just looking at one earlier on today. In fact, I circulated to the chaps on the call, where a young lady, clearly in party mood, drinks in hand amongst the party crowd, decides she's going to get up onto the table and do something, I imagine, along the lines of a happy pole dance in front of all her mates. And she jumps up there and falls straight off, legs akimbo, into the stale baby sham and lager on the floor. And I thought that was quite a visual metaphor for Millwall's game yesterday, a 1-0 loss at Huddersfield. Introducing the panel today to try and talk what we can out of what was a very, very thin gruel from the Millwall point of view. But introducing, first of all, John Rankin. Take my hat off to you, John. You were there, mate. How are you?
I was. I'm recovered now, I think, because I stayed at my sister's in Deptford in the evening, and we got back home about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Fucking hell. Well done for going. Also joining the call is Matt Richards. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Nick. And hi, everybody.
And last but not least, coming in from, I think it's Ice Station Zebra, but I think it might be closer to the borders of Bromley and Beckenham, is Graham Payne. How are you, Graham?
Hello, Nick. Pleased to be on the call.
Thanks all for joining us, with us, chaps. Huddersfield 1, Millwall 0. When I watch these games, listeners, I take some notes so I can try and sound coherent for a show next day. And it took us, by my reckoning, it took us till the 80th minute for any chance worthy of the name to come Millwall's way. It was a tough watch. John, you were there, mate. Tell us about your day. Tell us about your match day experience going up to Huddersfield.
Well, I'm 57, so it's beginning to take its toll a little bit, I've got to say, because I live down on the south coast. But yeah, I mean, 6 hour, including the stop, 6 hour coach. The coach was feeling pretty positive going up there. When the team sheet came out about 2 o'clock, or just before 2 o'clock, we started to feel less positive, I've got to say, because we knew that Huddersfield would really give this one, 110% effort, because there was a post out on Twitter in the week saying that if they lose this one, then that will be their worst ever home record, or their worst ever record at home, without a win. There was a reason for them to really give it a belt. And also they had 17,000 people there. So, they were well supported. Yeah. And so first half, kick-off, usual tactics. But I'll go back to the team sheet. So the back four, Scott Malone, left back, against a really, really speedy winger that they've got. Cresswell and Cooper in the middle, Danny Mack on the right. That raised the first eyebrows, because we felt that Rowett brought Scott Malone in to have a one-on-one with Wallace J the week before. And we were surprised that he was there. We were all saying, okay, because we know that he's shaky defensively. And I've got to say, it was a very poor defensive display down both our flanks. And they completely dominated us in the first half because it was sweets off a baby. We were also surprised that Saville wasn't in the team. you know,
Yep.
because our understanding is that Scott Malone's in the team because of his delivery, and he can take a lovely cross and he can take a lovely free kick. Not much else going for him at the moment. But
No,
Saville can
no.
do that just as well. Saville's got a nice, sweet left foot. So we thought, hang on, Shackleton and Mitchell in the middle and Scott Malone in the back four. And we started to feel a little bit less confident. And the rest is history, I've got to say. So the first half, they were all over us. I mean, the first goal was an absolute fluke, but it just knocked the wind out of our sails. We just thought we're back to square one here, conceding a nothing goal very early on, and it sort of brought a muscle memory back for Sheffield and all that early part of the season. There were 780 of us. I don't think we sung once. We just stood there going, this ain't going to work. It was flat, non-performance. And that first goal was just a killer punch. Man of the match for me on our side was George Long, because, he's got Bart Biatowski behind him, breathing down his neck saying, I'm here, I could have saved that, And I thought his head's going to drop and we're going to, because they were literally all over us, right? They were just pushing the ball down the flanks. Danny Mack and Scott Malone had a mare. They had a defensive mare, right? And it was just sweets off a baby, just down the flanks, across the ball. They had about half a dozen corners in quick succession. I mean, it was trench warfare.
Yeah.
George Long, his head didn't drop, and he was out easily. We could have gone in that first half 4-0 down, easily 4-0 down.
Should have done in some ways, John, I felt, for the reason that you said. I mean, George Long, I wouldn't disagree with that man of the match tag. I mean, Matt, I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of The Simpsons where the PE teacher stages a game called Bombardment, which is basically him throwing balls at the kids in Bart Simpson's class and he keeps shouting bombardment. And that first half felt like a game of bombardment to me. The goal, which was a fluky goal, I will say that, but then that's football. You get it sometimes. But we just didn't seem to have any spirit. We didn't seem to come alive. I don't quite know what happened there.
I think that's the key word there, Nick. Really, it's spirit, isn't it? I think John. You kind of alluded to it there about Huddersfield being up for this. Of course, they're going to be up for it. They're home. They're really struggling at the bottom, but they're going to be up for a fight, and that's what we're there to be. You've got to be on your front foot. I can't help thinking that, psychologically, you go in. Maybe we're on 4 games in a row. Doing really well, getting positive press. And then you go up there and perhaps you ease off and you think, oh, we're up against these. They're a bottom team. We won our last away game. We should have beaten Rotherham. And I just don't know. If you just, it's so cliche, isn't it? But you're 1% off the pace and they're fighting 110%. You haven't got a chance. And yeah, John, I think you're right. When the goal goes in, fluke, although they deserved it, then the heads drop. And if you're not at that pace and intensity, which we've seen before, in previous games against Watford, definitely, and at times against West Brom, then you're fighting an uphill battle, aren't you, from the start? And I think going back to Nick, I think you're right. That word spirit, that's the thing what was missing.
Very strange. I mean, Graham. I mean, one thing that's really stood out for me in the last series of wins, we've had was it 4 on the spin? I think we've won. Has been what looked like a really strong team spirit, a willingness to fight for everything, and that went missing yesterday by a long way. But I was really he does some odd interviews sometimes, Gary Rowett, doesn't he? In the post-match press conference, he said, if you look at the game, that they, being Huddersfield, they're fighting for their lives. Well, we're what, 17 games into the season? Yes, they are at the wrong end of the table, but we ought to be fighting for our lives too. Why we would have gone there expecting them not to have fire in their belly, I don't know. We should have been taking fire in our belly, as we have shown recently. It just seemed to be a very odd way for it to go completely yesterday.
It was, to me, I know it's been said, and I've said it, it was a typical Millwall performance away from home against a team bottom of the league. I don't know what goes on. It was the same last year when you talk about the Peterborough game, exactly the same sort of performance, not good enough, and we lose. And yesterday was the same. We were flat from the first minute to the last, really. And he said at half time he was thinking of making the 3 substitutions. Why didn't he do it? Why wait 15 minutes, and then even Bennett, he waited even longer for, which to me was, I couldn't understand. But I agree with John. I said in the group chat that I was surprised that he didn't bring Saville back, because Saville had been an important part of them wins, and I was there in midfield, and I thought he would bring him back for that game yesterday. But he didn't. He chose to stick with the same team. But no, it was flat from the word go.
I mean, Johnny touches on that again in the press conference. This is on London News. Alex Grace says that Rowett said it was nothing to do with Sav. He has this annoying way of referring to everyone in nicknames. Sav. There's a good chance that Sav will come into the team in the next couple of games, or one of the next couple of games.
I'm sure he will.
It'll be the first game on the sheet at Birmingham.
He says Shax had done well enough in the previous game. Shax and Billy to stay in the team. We spoke about working hard. Why do footballers do this?
Love Shax.
It's always been like that.
I don't call Grazda, Matty,
Ranks.
JR. Who speaks like this other than the world of football? You won't go into work.
You should hear what we call you, Nick. That's a separate chat.
No, but I'll tell you what, Graham's. I watched Rowett's interview, and then I watched the extended highlights on the Millwall TV, and I watched that first goal, because up to that first goal, we didn't look too bad actually. It was sort of, they were passing the ball about. As Rowett says, we kept our shape. Didn't look too bad. That first goal just changed the nature of the game. And I was watching it. That guy, Yakamani, he got so much space. And he ran in, and we were just backing off. And Danny Mack, he's often out of position, old Danny Mack. He was getting pulled down the right, and this space just opened up for him. And Saville would have been on him. Shackle and Mitchell was on the left-hand side, and he just pushed into the space and put a cross in, and it floated. It come off wrong part of his foot. But I think we really missed George Saville yesterday, and of course we missed Sean Hutchinson. And I know Matt said about the spirit, but I've looked at it and I've really thought hard. I think that, I lay the blame for this on Rowett, to be honest with you, because it was a nonsensical setup. They've got a centre half, Tom Lees, right, who's a big, tall centre half. He's slightly shorter than Jake Cooper, but he's a good player. So our strategy for the game was to lump the ball up to Tom Bradshaw, who is 5'6", against the 6'4" centre half. It was just ridiculous. Zian Fleming was very frustrated, and I'll tell you what, he's going to be off if this carries on, because he was kicked. There was one instance when he kicked the side, the holdings on the side, threw a hand out at a player. He's really frustrated, and I feel sorry for him, because he must be looking around going, look, I'm in this number 10 position, but I'm not getting any balls passed to me. He's got, it's not working, and it's tactics. It really is. I couldn't believe what I was watching after that. They just kept on lumping the ball up, and the centre half came, thanks very much, putting it down. They were clearing it up, pushing it out to the flanks, and just going down the wings, and it was just an onslaught. I just thought, this is the worst tactical performance I think I've ever witnessed. It was boys against men.
He goes in phases, Matt Rowett, doesn't he? He's either a madman or genius, isn't he? He's either, I agree with John's assessment there, because I'm just looking at my notes from yesterday. It was the goal arguably had a fluke quality to it, arguably. But after that, there's saves in 19 minutes, header cleared off the line, 21, save again. Good save by Jules Long. I thought they hit the post at one point. It might have been a save by Long, but hard to tell in real time. As I think we've said, that we really should have been 2 or 3 down at half time, and the game would have been out of sight. And, you know, it was quite apparent that Huddersfield were breaking fast. They were attacking our flanks, and they seemed to be quite up for it. But we just didn't have an answer for it. But I don't know. We lurch from one extreme to the other, don't we? I mean, coming into this game, everyone was on a high, but there was no signs of that spirit yesterday at all.
Well, I think the frustration is, and you can sense the frustration from all of us on this tonight, is that it seems to be obvious stuff, you know, like not playing Saville. He was just ill for the West Brom game. That was it. You know, he was fit, but he's playing Shackleton. Yeah, Saville's been instrumental in our, you know, the last four.
Shacks.
Yeah, Shacks against Sav. Yeah, Sav. Imagine something like Saville. But yeah, Savile or Wally. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a Wally fish and chip analogy.
Well, it's not Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm not getting better. Yeah, but I think that's the frustration. Is that the team selection was a strange one. Okay, we know we kind of have to nurse Mason Bennett, but bring him on for 10 minutes, really? I mean, he didn't start against West Brom, so I don't get that. We can't be saving him for Birmingham, so that's a strange one. And then the Shackleton one as well. But then the frustration is, after such a poor performance, he leaves the subs until late. And he typically does this. I can't remember. I was trying to think back before today when he has actually brought sub. Maybe he did when we were 2-0 down against like Sheffield United and Coventry. I can't remember. But, you know, if it's not working, then get those players on straight away. And I think that's the frustration, is that he makes some strange selections still, and then he seems to learn from it, and then we seem to go on a bit of a run and we're okay. But then he makes another strange decision. And I think that's the frustration from fans, is that most of the time, on the balance, he's getting things right, but he's doing some strange stuff as well. And that's what's really frustrating.
He goes off on an odd tangent from time to time.
Yeah.
And he seemed to, I mean, Graham, he seemed to have it in for Jules Saville yesterday. I know he's denied it afterwards, which kind of reinforces it, in my opinion. But to bring in late, I think it was George Evans. I'm just trying to find who came on late in the day, 82 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have thought, even if he didn't start Saville, Graham, I mean, I would have played him at half time, because he's been so good lately and we were so poor yesterday. You'd think, you know, 2 + 2 would make 4 there, wouldn't it? And you'd at least try that option at half time. But he seemed to have I wonder sometimes whether some of these players voice their opinions in private and he don't like it and he decides he's going to show them who's boss, or something petty along those lines. Because I couldn't think of many other reasons not to bring Saville in yesterday.
Yeah, you might have a point there, Nick. I mean, I fully expected Saville to come on at half time. I just thought, well, he's definitely going to come on at half time to bring him on. And then not to bring him on at all. And, you know, and you could sit, there was a picture of, you could see him sitting on the bench when Evans was coming on, and he just took his shin pads out of his socks and he thought, well, that's me done. I'm not going to come on now. And, you know, you just think, well, is he, you know, is Rowett, as you say, does he voice his opinion and Rowett thinks, well, I'll sort you out, you know, and, you know, but it's wrong. He should have come straight back into the side, in my opinion. Yeah. He was missed one game because he was ill. And it had been part of a side that it sort of seemed to me as turned the corner, you know, got some wins, and then he doesn't bring the wrong move as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, John, we did get some chances late in the day. Tyler Bury went very close. Almost, the ball was picked up by the goalkeeper on the line as it was about to cross the line, going in there. Another day that might have gone in. It didn't go in yesterday. But that was our first opportunity of the game, which is a long while to watch a game of football and not even get anywhere close to goal, where you have any sense that there's a dangerous moment about to come to pass. So there was that. And then I thought, I didn't show it on the highlights reel. I watched the YouTube clips this morning, but Afobe went close, I think 90+6, very, very late. I didn't show that one. So I haven't seen that since real time yesterday. But it was a very, very wishy-washy showing, John, wasn't it, yesterday? It was hard to put into words how poor it was.
It was, but you can't underestimate what Graham said there is so right. You can't underestimate how poorly that team was prepared and how poor our tactics were. I mean, an example is this, right? Huddersfield played much more intelligently than we did. Okay? Okay. Now we've got Jake Cooper. We're regarded as a big side, but we're not, right? We've got one tall guy who is really tall, Jake Cooper. The rest of them are normal height. You see him in the car park, right? So what Huddersfield did, they put Tom Lees obviously on Tom Bradshaw. So that's nullified. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I was Tom Bradshaw, I'd be saying to Rowett, are you taking the piss, Gaffer? Because Rowett said, and I quote him here, right? He would have said, you know, we didn't win those 50-50 physical battles. Fucking hell.
That'll be a 30-70 physical battle, John.
Oh, you having a laugh? You've put me up against a 6'5" man mountain. I'm supposed to win headers against him. You know, Bradshaw was found him and he flattened him a couple of times because he was so frustrated.
Achtung, Millwall.
So that's the first observation. But what Huddersfield did, they used the short corner very intelligently. So they created a couple of brilliant chances, and we're weak on the short corner because teams know that we can defend our corners pretty well because we've got Coops and we've got Hutchinson who's not short, you know. So they used the short corner, and when they were crossing the ball, they were crossing it really deep over the penalty box, right to the far post. And so what that allows, you know, a defender or a winger to come in and hit it back. So they were playing really intelligently. And that George Evans substitution, this is what I can't work out with old Gary Rowett. He brought George Evans on as a replacement for Cooper, and Cooper played up front as a target man. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And it just summed it up. I thought, this fucking manager, don't know whether he's on foot or back sometimes, right? Because to do that, Mason Bennett and Paul Cunningham came on and started to make things happen. And we had a purple patch in the second half where we were, we were cracking a lot of chances. We were in their half.
Yeah,
we were
Crossing was poor, though.
Mason Bennett did a step over, you know, went round got to the byline, chipped a lovely ball in, and it fucking hit Cooper in the back and went for a goal kick.
Yeah.
Cooper was like, you know, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It was facing the wrong way, hit him on the back, and went for a goal kick.
Yeah, I remember that.
We looked at each other and we all just went.
They're getting each other's way, aren't they?
I was there with some old boys, you know, and they went, this is just a joke. I mean, we were standing with our hands in our pockets going, what time's the coach coming? And all that. It was awful. So I don't really blame the players. You know, that team was never, the football they were playing, in my opinion, they were never, ever going to be good defensively, and they just had no outlet to attack. One final thing, poor old Vogelslammer, right? He worked his, proverbials off all game again, and he came off with about 10 minutes to go, and I'll tell you what, I was watching him, he looked round at the bench and went like that and just threw his hands up in the air, and they took him off. They're going to go. Fleming, Honeyman, Vogelsammer, they're being played out of position. That Vogelsammer, he's a good player. He needs to be in the middle and, rotating with Bradshaw. I'm not sure about Bennick at the moment. Bennick's just not at the races. I lay the fault of that squarely at Rowett. It seems to me we're back to square one now with Millwall. We're back where we were now before the 4-game run. That's the shame of it,
Yes, based on yesterday's showing, I would agree with it. It was such a lurch, Matt, wasn't it? I mean, I think that's the really hardest. I mean, there's some great posts which I'll just read if you'll indulge me, boys. Shout out to Gavin, who says it's written in the ancient annals of the land that a Millwall team on an unbeaten run will lose to the team at the bottom. It's what we do. And then some Steinman replies it's in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles, and it is. It's the second verse after that we will attack the Coldblow Lane end in the second half.
I think you've got copyright for that, Nick. I think you need to be on to him about the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. Sticking your line.
And Tony's got it. Millwall have played, Tony Monday, Millwall played 7 teams that start today in the bottom half of the table. We've beat them all. That's a very rare event, says Tony. I think it is. We do struggle against the lower placed teams in the division at any level. So he saw an inevitable defeat coming. This is pre-game. He called it right. Mystic Monday, I'm calling him now. Inevitable defeat coming now against the bottom side. I don't know why that is, Matt. We do seem to produce our best against the higher placed sides. The big atmosphere, maybe. The players get fired up. Something. But a miserable trip to Huddersfield on a misty, horrible day. you can kind of see it, can't you? 1-0 against us.
Well, I think, yeah, you're right, and I think we can all see it happening. I think the frustration is that Huddersfield were bottom, so it was a great opportunity. I look at the next 3 games we've got. That was a really good opportunity to get a good result. I mean, we weren't going to carry on this. Well, I suppose we could have done. This winning game and undefeated run forever. It was going to come. It was going to stop at some point. It's just the frustration is that I think it's the first half performances is the major frustration. Second half, I thought we had a lot more possession. Well, we did have a lot more possession, but we just didn't do anything with it.
No.
But the frustration going back to the game is that Huddersfield were there for the taking. I still don't think they're a great side. We let them play more. But we've got Birmingham now. We've got Birmingham on Wednesday. They're not doing bad, They beat QPR. They're on the up. And then we've got Hull. We should beat Hull at home. And then we've got Preston. We've got 2 tough away games now, tougher than Huddersfield on paper. Are the players? Well, is Rowett going to set them up properly so we have the right people in the right positions? And are the players going to be up for it? That's the kind of big question I've got. We can bounce back. We have done before, and maybe we'll find out. But I think that's the frustration, as you say. It was probably going to happen. We've seen it happen before. I think. But the bigger issue now is how we bounce back on Wednesday.
I mean, Graham, I wonder whether the players, if they're set up correctly, I think they'll bring their own desire and competitiveness and will to win to the table. I do wonder whether they must see the same things that we see, Graham. We're just watching on from the sidelines, however we're doing it. If we can see these flaws and faults and players with played in out of position, they must be seeing it too. It must be very difficult to work with somebody that insists you play in a place that you're not best placed to. It's like any walk of life, isn't it? It's gonna get frustrating, and you're gonna lose the spirit, so to speak. I wonder whether that's going on here. How do you see it, mate?
Well, I think it probably is, Nick. But we're in a situation, unfortunately, where I think it's been said before. He was set up at the start of the season for 5 at the back, wing backs.
Yeah.
And now we're being forced to play like Vogelslam out wide right, and that's not his position. But we've got no one else, unless he plays Tyler there and puts Mason on the left of us. But to me, I would like to see him given a chance down the middle now, maybe Wednesday night, just to see what he can do. He's been bought by the club, and he's not played one game in his favoured position, and that's not right.
No,
his favourite position. And, they must see this and think, well, he must, as John said, he must be getting so frustrated thinking, I've joined this club, I'm a striker, and I'm not being given a chance to play up front.
And playing as a winger.
He's being used as like a utility midfielder, to be honest with you. I really feel sorry for him. You can see the frustration in his face.
I think Styles is an interesting one as well, isn't it? Sorry, Nick.
Go for it.
Styles is like, I mean, he started him the last couple of games, and like when he first came in, he looked great, didn't he? But that was, I suppose, playing at 5 and left wing back. But he's not really doing much there either, and it's like, is he being played in the right position? But you're right, Graham. We're going back to that point. He's built a squad around the 5, and a few players are being played out of position. And it probably does affect their mentality when they're going into games. I think you're right, Nick.
I think Harry made the point when we spoke in the week about Styles, who's a Hungarian international. I hadn't quite absorbed this until Harry said it. He's a Hungarian international. He's played in the big venues of European football. But he plays as a left back. Ideally, I think he's one of these utility players that can go into many positions. But ideally. He's a left-sided defender, which I suppose, as John said at the start of our conversation, is occupied by Scott Malone because of his ability with the free kicks, and that has paid us off quite nicely. So Styles is not going to be playing in his natural position. I just wonder, a bit like Vogelsama, maybe one or two others as you think about it. But Gary Rowett seems to have this ability. It's like what I call we saw him yesterday, the George Evansization of a game. And everyone's reduced to this kind of utility role. No one's shining in their position. Everyone's got a work rate, and do a kind of like a very bland a mix. I don't know. We're still in 8th position.
Still doing well. That's what we need. We're sort of 8th,
doing
2
well.
points off playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 points behind Swansea after yesterday's results. Arguably, John, 3 points. Well, we are 3 points, not arguably. We are 3 points behind Sheffield United in 4th position. It's still a pretty good position for a Millwall team to be in, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
I wonder whether we have our expectations set too high at times. But watching that yesterday, I thought, no, I'm entitled to expect at least some measure of coherence in the game. I'm entitled to watch a game where we don't struggle for 80 minutes to even get a shot on goal. So there we are. So yeah, on to Birmingham midweek. You going up to Birmingham, John? Are you at that one, or are you going to watch that one on TV?
Yeah, no, we're going to go because my son is really into it, and my son's 15 and a half, and it's kind of, it's given me a boost. So as long as my son wants to go, I'll go. But even
you'll be there, yeah.
Yeah, even we're doubtful for Peterborough now, and even he said to me, "Well, Dad, how about we just do Luton, Watford, and QPR?" Because it is a monumental effort, It's like he's 15 off, so he's like for energy and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I take my hat off to it. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, but I can't emphasise how flat it was yesterday. We come off the coach. And you put in this car park, and all the Huddersfield crew were coming up, and this fella caught my eye, and he went, "All right, good journey." I said, good. He said, "Well, you give us a good beating today." I said, "Well, I've just seen the team sheet. 0-1 you, mob." That's what I said. I said, "You'll beat us 1-0."
Oh wow.
He went, "Oh, I don't think so." I said, "Yeah," and we just knew. I can't emphasise how it was just like, we're going to struggle here. So, but you asked about Birmingham. Yeah, I mean, it's in nature to have a good result at Birmingham. So, I think the cup is half full, not half empty. But it seems like our bucket of water has constantly got a leak on the bottom of it, unless we're topping it up all the time. It's just
that's a good analogy.
It's just running down all the time, and we're there, because we just make life so difficult for ourselves. Look, to me, it's obvious, right? Your back four at the moment, I'd put Shackleton right back, the two fellas, Cresswell and Cooper in the middle, and I'd put Stiles at left back. I'd have Sav and Billy in the middle. I'd have Vogelslammer up front, and then you've got George Honeyman, right? I've always liked George Honeyman. He came on yesterday, and he was playing right wing, and he was making a useful contribution. He's a good player. And, you've got all those creative type players who have a go. But to set it up like that yesterday, it was just a nonsense. I thought, well, who's managing this side? And the players looked annoyed. There was a lot of frustration going on. And also, no one really took charge. The thing about George Honeyman is if you ain't got Sean Hutchinson on the pitch, he was captain Hull, right? He's played in the Prem, George Honeyman, right, with Sunderland, I think. And, he can captain a team, right? He's got and it's how they respond to him, isn't it? I mean, if you make Billy Mitchell captain, some of the old lags, like the old sweats, like George Saville might say, "Oh, fucking tell me what to do." You get all that kind of dynamic going on. But George Honeyman's been there, seen it and done it. So if you make him captain and he's buzzing around barking at people like a little terrier, it might do something. But at the moment, I don't rate us as making the playoffs at the moment because I just think we ain't got that consistency. I think we'll finish mid-table.
It's very hit and miss, I will say that. Birmingham away midweek, chance to put all of this behind us, Matt. Do you see us getting a result up there, mate? You never know with this Millwall side, I suppose.
I fancy us, I do. Just basically because we know what usually happens with Millwall. It's the unexpected, isn't it? And I think Rowett can't come out public and we've said this before, haven't we? You can't castigate the players, but I think he'll be disappointed with that first half, and surely he should have tore into him at half time. But that wasn't good enough. You're right. I think he'll take stock. I hope he will take stock, and he will look closely at the actual lineup. But I think we'll come away with something. I definitely do. I think we'll definitely get a draw at least. It's just be typical. It'd be frustrating because you think, well, why can't you do it? Why can't you do that at the weekend? You can do it midweek. Come away.
Yeah,
with something. I'm happy with that, mate. Then we get win next Saturday, and then suddenly we've got 4 points from 2 games, and we'll still be pushing
The
for sixth
railway
place,
train
won't
could be rolling again, couldn't it? I mean, Graham, I suppose it just reinforces what we keep saying. It's a bit of a cliche that this is an unpredictable division. Everyone seems to be able to beat everyone, and there's no standout sides, and that includes us. No matter how buzzed up we got from those wins, I thought yesterday was a bit of a reality check in the sense that we've always got what's the cliche again? You've got a mistake in you. We've got
Cricket,
we've got this team, as good as it can be, has always got a flat performance in it somehow. Give me a score prediction for Wednesday night, Graham. Come on,
I'm going to go 1-0 Millwall.
1-0 Millwall. Is he eternal optimist over there in our deepest Antarctica? John, give me a score prediction Wednesday night.
I don't think we're going to get anything from the game. I think we're going to go Millwall 1, Birmingham 3.
Okay, Matt.
I'll go 2-1 Millwall.
2-1 Millwall. I watched Birmingham play. Oh God, who was it? They played on Friday night football. QPR, and they looked all right. I think they won it 2-0, I believe. So yeah, I'm a little bit itchy and scratchy on this one, listeners. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and go for a win for Millwall. But I think the kind of the devil on my shoulder is telling me we'll probably get beat up there. But we'll see. Just to close us, chaps, we've done really well to talk for half an hour about one of the most mundane fixtures I've ever watched in my life. And somehow we've pressed like the old Mediterranean olive presses where they squeeze and squeeze. We've got half an hour out of that. I can't believe we've done that. But I thought just to, in fact, this one's for you, John. You like a long away day trip. There's one I found on Twitter. This is French football, the Coupe de France, the French FA Cup. They have a French 4th division side, ASM Belfort, have been drawn away to Tahiti. A team called AS Venus, who are in Tahiti, and because in French law all of their territories are technically part of France, this team have got to travel from France to Tahiti to play an away game on the other side of the world. I don't know if it's knockout football.
I'd love to do that.
I'll go.
Yeah, I would just love to do that. I mean, there's still something fantastic. You walk onto that, you're up in 300 miles away from Payne or whatever it is, and you walk onto the terraces and you go, here we go. It's what we're about, as we do stick together. And, I'll always love Millwall, as we all do, but I hope I'm proved wrong on Wednesday. I mean, I'm going to the game. I really hope I'm proved wrong. Who knows, I might be, but, we'll keep
Fingers
going.
crossed.
We'll dust ourselves off, won't we, and have a go. I just hope Rowett just, listens to his players a bit more. I think he's a bit of an autocrat, old Gary Rowett. I mean, his dad was a screw, wasn't he? So, it's do as I say. I think he's a bit autocratic.
The prison record comes up when we get beat every time.
I was going to say, this George Saville thing, right, is, reading between the lines. So he said, Gary Rowett said, right, George Saville rang me up and said he didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I've dropped it. I reckon Saville was out on the sherbets, rang the gaffer up, and the gaffer said, you were seen down the disco in Beckenham.
The Bridge Bar at Beckenham.
And he said, no, I'm all right, I can play. Yeah, well, you dropped. It's why is he? Who knows? It's all conjecture.
We've got dramatised. It's a bit like the Crown series on Netflix. We've dramatised the conversation that go on behind the scenes at Millwall on this show, listeners. I think I'll leave it there, to be honest.
Well, it could be like you mentioned a prison analogy. Maybe it could be Saville's redemption. It could be not the Shawshank redemption. It could be redemption.
Saville's redemption.
Yeah. Maybe he could break out.
But there's something, there's something going on there, though. Surely
there's something there. There's something there, listeners. That's what
I don't think you're far wrong. Yeah.
No, there's something afoot. There we are. Boys, I want to say thank you, because that was a difficult game to talk about, and I think we probably explored every angle we possibly can out of this performance. So a huge thank you to Graham.
Cheers, Nick.
Thank you to Matt for joining the show.
Cheers, Nick. Good to see you all.
And big thank you and well done to John for travelling up to Huddersfield. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, Nick. Nice to see you, boys.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Tahiti away. I don't know what the equivalent for us would be. It'd be like the South Sandwich Islands away. We'd have to get the MSC. Would have to organise a
Falkland Islands, wouldn't it?
we wouldn't be coach one. It'd be
United.
Falkland Islands. Yeah, we get the Falklands. It would
Isle
be
of Wight.
Tahiti.
Yeah.
Somewhere decent. It'd be
Sheffield.
Falkland Islands, just off
Sheffield.
the Port Stanley away.
Millwall 0, Falklands United 2.
Oh dear. Big thank you to you two, dear listeners, for joining this show. And until midweek, until after Birmingham away, it's Arrivederci Millwall, and bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.